Hi everyone, this is Estelle Tracy from 37 Chocolates. I'm here today. Today is a Thursday for a live Q&A. So for those who are just tuning in for the first time, I'll be live during this crazy coronavirus related quarantine every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. for a live session, and the topic will change each time. Today is actually a live Q&A. On Tuesday we did a review of Toac chocolate, which is the most expensive chocolate in the world, which you can still watch. And today, live Q&A, I asked on Instagram whether you had some questions. I have a bunch of questions here, as you can see. So I'm prepared for that. I'm going to monitor the time actually, because I want to be under 15 minutes so that I have a chance to save the video and post it as an Instagram TV segment on Instagram. So I'm just going to put a 14, maybe, no, 0. I should have done that first. But anyway, I'm going to do a 12 minutes here. So hi Elfie, hi Shay, thanks for tuning in. So before I jump in the live Q&A, let me just introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. So I'm Estelle Tracy, the founder of 37 Chocolates, and up until March, I actually did a lot of chocolate tastings, a lot of wine and chocolate tastings in the Philadelphia area, most specifically Chester County. I partner with a lot of wineries, 3 wineries, and a lot of private clubs, private country clubs and golf clubs to create wine and chocolate tasting events. And I was just starting to diversify by actually partnering with microbreweries like Brellock in Kennett Square, for those of you who are familiar with, and then quarantine happened. So also coffee and tea as well. Bonjour everyone. Shay calls me her favorite wine lady. Thank you. I actually can say the same for you. But yeah, so that's the bit of background. Or if you're watching me right now, that's the background that's relevant to you. Let me put it this way. So the questions I have is the first questions. I trying to come up with some kind of logic. It's I'm gonna start with this one. How did I develop my tasting abilities for chocolate pairings? That's a great question, and the answer is more straightforward than you would think. So for those of you who may have heard me on podcast or on or read my blog, what happened, that's if you go to 37 Chocolates, you can read more about that. For pairing, it was really simple. It's Virginia Mitchell, who is the winemaker at Gaylor Estate Winery in Kennett Square, sent me a message one day to say, hey, we should do something together. Neither one of us believed in wine and chocolate pairing, and we were like, okay, if people are gonna, we know people, the demand was there. If people want it, they may as well get it from us. It was kind of the impetus behind that. And so what we did is Virginia poured all the wine, and I opened, literally I had this very box which I have here. This is like my personal chocolate stash. I had this, and I opened everything, and we got in completely blind. We just like, we have to pick a wine, we have to pick a chocolate, and we just jumped in there. The beauty of that, I realized what a blessing in disguise this was. We actually came up with pairings that you will not find recommended by sommeliers or anybody in the wine industry, because I brought in a very dense chocolate collection, and Virginia obviously knew wine. And so what we did really was really out of the box, and that's that is how we jumped in. We just went in blind, and then from there you start actually realizing that there are some pairing, you're like, oh well, this particular wine is like this, and I realized like this is a perfect example. Like there's a Merlot that went well with Akeson's Madagascar bar, then turns out the other Merlot from a completely different winery worked well too. So after that, you start, having a basic idea of how to pair things, but we went in completely blind. So that's what we got in. This is a question. This question came in from two different people. One from Claire and the other, I forget who that was. It was in Instagram. How did I transition from my 37 chocolates to the decision to work in this area? What were my first steps? And a very similar question is what got me interested to turn this into a profession. So uh, that that is a complete what do you call stroke of luck. Like it was luck, really. What happened is I had, for those of you who don't know, 5 years ago I challenged myself to review 37 chocolates made in the US in honor of my 37th birthday on Halloween, so 2015. And so at the end of the challenge, so all these reviews are on YouTube and posted on Facebook. And what happened is that I became friends with a photographer on Instagram named Jay. And what she did is she introduced me to a journalist at the local newspaper, Chester County Press, and I made it to the cover of the newspaper for having a chocolate blog around Valentine's Day. What happened is the librarian, my local librarian, saw me when I was just browsing the shelves, and she asked me if I wanted to come in for a tasting, and it turned out this was going to be a paid engagement. So the moment this happened, I knew that, okay, there was a possibility, and for chocolate tasting to be lucrative, but at the same time, I knew that I would not ever do this for free after that. Like once you like that difference between 0 and 1 is like everything. Once you made it to 1, you can make it to 100, if that makes sense. So from there, I kept, so at the time, like we all have to remember my family situation. At the time when I did the 37 chocolates challenge, I had an 8, when I left, at the time she wasn't quite 2 years old, my youngest, and I had an older one. I had with very personal needs for my oldest is that I wasn't working full time, and I knew that I grew in a very controlled way. Like I wasn't looking into being everywhere at once. What I wanted is to take care of every one of my customer before growing and adding another. And so my goal for a couple of years was actually to go to the Kenneth Library, which is where I still go twice a year when the stars align. But and what happened is I was very focused on that, and one day there was a executive chef from a prestigious club that came, that attended without telling me. He received my thank you email, and after that his manager actually reached out to me to say, hey, our executive chef really had the pleasure of attending one of your tastings, and we would love to have you at the club. And it just happened that is the most prestigious golf club outside of the city of Philadelphia. So once I managed to do something there at the club, I was able to grow into different clubs like that. And it was quite a process. It took me, if I'm not mistaken, I remember that club, it took almost a year before, it was not over 9 months between the time I got that first contact with the chef and when I was able to actually do something at the club. So it was February and then December. So you do the math, it took a long time. And things have really taken off, I'd say, last year around January. And then I was on an interesting, really cool trajectory until life happened. But that's a different, that there's nothing I can do about that, right? So that's how I transitioned into it being a profession. The key, I would say, actually, like it makes it sound like I essentially gave you a summary of 5 years. The thing is where actually the key for me has been to introduce wine into the chocolate equation. I know there are lots of people here who are into chocolate and are just sticking to the chocolate and want to do chocolate tasting. The reality is, outside of a big city, like I do not live in a big city. I live in a small town, in a very small town, and we do have a lot of like cool places, like these wineries I'm telling you about, or the clubs, and the thing is, it's extremely hard to find a market for people to just come for chocolate alone. I do exactly 2 chocolate tastings a year at the Kennett Library. And the thing is, there is a demand for wine and chocolate. There is people will come with their friends. People will come and that, like, you know, if there was one piece of advice I would give, and I think that applies for literally everything in life, stay flexible and open-minded. And you know those quotes about, you know, things happen outside of your comfort zone or whatever, like, you know, magic happens out of comfort zone. I can tell you, I knew nothing about wine before I started wine and chocolate tasting. However, what I've noticed is the same way I mean, before I knew chocolate, I didn't know chocolate. Like, it sounds really obvious, but you know, you all have to start somewhere. Same has happened for one. But what I realized is that a lot of people will have an air to themselves that they know about wine. And then you actually start scratching the surface and you realize a lot of people are feeling insecure or uncomfortable. And that really a lot of people that you may see are just in no different place than you. They might just, you know, like, so don't be scared of saying you don't know something or you want to learn something. The reality is the more you do it, the better you get at it. I have a bunch of wine books in my library. I try to drink wine or taste wine as frequently as I can. Always come up with, like, yesterday was the first night of Passover. I opened this bottle of Pinot Noir I had, and I was just like scavenging all this chocolate and then a cookie and whatever. Like, I'm always trying to do this, like, be on pairing, you know, like that's like it's almost like, you know, exercising every day. Like that's just, you know, what you do. But you know, like, when you find the right people, and I've been extremely lucky to find wine professionals that are just so open and willing to share their knowledge. But again, that has been so key into turning chocolate into a job versus it being a passion. So that's, you know, I let you think this through. So right now, so then we're gonna go in the topic of money and income and everything. Some people are curious right now, how am I making money, considering that I had to cancel all my tastings in March. So somebody's asking what are my proportions of my various sources of income. And I'm gonna pair that question with how I've transitioned to making money online. The thing I always repeat is I am a mother of 2 children. Right now, my husband is working. He's working from home, so the kids are no longer going to school, like to the physical building. So I have to be mindful of my own situation while staying relevant in my field. A lot of people have mentioned that I could do chocolate tasting online or like selling chocolate online. The reality is these things are require certain commitment. So we're at 12 minutes. I'm gonna stop it after this I answer this question. But the thing is, I'm gonna go over 15 minutes. C'est la vie. But anyway, what's going on with the revenue? So the thing, when I gave you my background at the beginning, the thing that is kind of invisible to people who know me locally or on the online on the chocolate world is that I have a whole other life, which is in French. I'm the author of this book, a food survival guide for French expats in the US. This is one of my 3 books. I have number 2 here, which is a cute little booklet here, and the third one is an ebook, and I don't have it here. And that has actually been, after I left the corporate world, those books have been the beginning of my freelancing type of journey, my independent worker, like self-employed, you know, if that makes sense. So I have other streams of revenue that are not related to chocolate. That's the important thing to keep in mind. And the other thing I do is that I am a regular contributor for Edible Delmarva magazine. I'm going to show you, this is the last, so this is the spring issue. And I wrote a story on Little Goat Coffee in Newark, Delaware. So this is this is one of my freelance gigs. These books give me also bring me our source of revenue, and the beauty with those books or with the freelance writing is that I can do it at a time that's convenient for me. I can do it. I don't have to commit to a certain time. So right now I actually have a piece that's due at the end of May for Edible Delmarva. I'm not telling you right now what it's about. And I actually, so this is actually quite funny, but I because of the food survival guide, I actually wrote a a recipe collection. It's called Survival Recipes in the US. So I'm translating, but it's for French expat in the US. And the thing, what happened is that it did okay when I launched it. It was an ebook, but I felt like I didn't get a lot of attention from the French community as I expected it. Like my first book did well, and I thought it's doing okay, but like in the survival recipes, what I'm telling people is like how to make bread, like no knead bread, no knead brioche, you know, how to make your own baking powder mix, and how to make your own tea that you loved in France, and so like so on and so forth. And like, I mean, I just like, I thought those recipes are great. And at the end, I even have an appendix on how to grow a container garden. And the timing I realized was not off, and I was gonna, you know, I had plans for this book for later this year, but like the timing was just so perfect. I actually relaunched the survival recipes in March, and I was able to recoup a significant amount of the lost revenue from my tasting through the ebook. And the ebook, I don't have to go to the post office. I can email thank you notes for people who, like, thank you emails to people who gave a contribution. It's a name your own price type of book. So people who have lost jobs can have it for free, and others, you know, they can just pay me like the $10 or whatever. So what I have been lucky to have is a portfolio of things I do, knowing that, I mean, writing for me is really tied to my identity. And as I am really sad that my tastings are over. I love being in front of people. I love the energy that people bring. I love partnering, but having the writing, like I need to produce a certain amount of writing for my soul to be like at peace. So having that writing, having that portfolio of services, and like having different audiences has been so critical in surviving this time. I still don't know what my revenue is going to look like in April. Maybe I will actually get online tasting going. I don't know. But right now, the freelancing and the kids and French books are keeping me quite busy. And I'm feeling very grateful for that. And they are bringing me helping me recoup some of the lost money from the chocolate tastings. So I'm gonna stop here for this time. I think I'm gonna as I said, Tuesday and Thursday 3 p.m. I'm gonna do live Q&A. So I'm gonna continue answering questions next Tuesday, but I hope that this has been helpful. I see Lucinda who's telling me we appreciate you. I'll tell you, Lucinda, and whoever is watching, I appreciate you so much. And like I look at my photos of tastings I've done in these beautiful places with wonderful people and amazing guests who always have something to say about my French accent. Like, you know, it's been like I'm I'd like to say like, oh, like I'm just so resilient and wonderful. The reality is like it does. I do miss it so much. I love partnering with my wine people and my club people, and we have a lot of fun. And but until then, yes, I mean, stay healthy and home, because that's the best way we can all resume our life of before to some degree. I hope this was helpful for all of you, and feel free to leave me more questions. I'll do another Q&A session on Tuesday. I have a lot more questions to answer here, but thank you so much, and I'll see you on Tuesday.